Blind date mix-up. The single dad CEO brought his triplet daughters, and the young nurse stayed. Emily Carter stood just outside the entrance of the cozy downtown cafe, clutching her phone like it was a shield. Her breath fogged slightly in the cool early autumn air. She tugged at the sleeve of her beige cardigan, nerves fluttering in her stomach. "Blind date," she murmured to herself with a dry chuckle. "What am I even doing?" Her best friend, Rachel, had insisted. "You need to get out, Em," she'd said firmly. "Mom would have wanted you to keep living." That part hurt the most, hearing her mother mentioned in the past tense. It had been 6 weeks since her mother's funeral. Since then, Emily had mostly moved between her apartment and the pediatric ward of St. Luke's Hospital, where she worked as a nurse. No parties, no holidays, no people, just children, laughter she didn't quite feel, and the dull ache of pretending everything was fine. Today was the first time she had put on makeup in over a month. Her long blonde hair was loosely curled, pinned back slightly with a small silver clip. She looked decent, like someone who might still believe in love, even if just for an hour. Emily pushed open the door and stepped into the warm scent of coffee, pastries, and distant jazz. Her eyes scanned the cafe. She spotted him near the back, tall, well-built, late 30s, dark hair, dark jacket, looking up from his phone expectantly. Her heart gave a small, surprised jolt. He was handsome. She walked over, hesitantly. "Graham?" she asked, hopeful. The man blinked, stood quickly. "Emily?" She nodded, offering a nervous smile. "Sorry, I'm late. I had a shift this morning." He looked momentarily confused, then extended a hand. "Right. Good to meet you. I wasn't sure what to expect." They sat. Graham Donovan was exhausted. His morning had been chaos. One of his daughters had thrown a fit because her favorite headband had gone missing, and the backup babysitter had canceled last minute. He had managed to wrangle the girls into the car with the promise of croissants and cartoons later, if they behaved while he met with the new nanny. This woman, Emily, wasn't at all what he pictured. Too well dressed, not the usual type the agency sent, but kind eyes, warm smile, and she was early. That was a good sign, he supposed. "I brought some notes on the girls," Graham said, reaching into his coat pocket, handing her a folded sheet of paper. Emily blinked. "Notes?" "For the schedule. Meals, nap times, allergies, that sort of thing." Her smile froze. "Wait, I thought this was a date?" Graham's brows furrowed. "A date? I thought you were the new babysitter." They stared at each other, dumbfounded. "You're not from the child care agency?" he asked, slowly. "No." She let out a quiet laugh of disbelief. "My friend set me up. She said you'd be wearing a black jacket and sitting by the window, I thought." "Blind date mix-up?" he offered, managing a small chuckle. Emily pressed a hand to her forehead. "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing." Before either could react further, a sudden burst of laughter and tiny footsteps echoed through the cafe. 3 little girls in identical pink dresses came running toward them from the restroom hallway, their curly hair bouncing, their shoes tapping excitedly against the floor. "Daddy," Lily called. "There you are," Sophie squealed. "I found the sink that makes foam," Mia announced proudly. Then they saw Emily. All 3 girls stopped abruptly, wide-eyed. Then, in perfect unison, they gasped and ran straight to her. "Mommy!" they cried out, hugging her legs, burying their faces in her skirt. Emily froze. Graham stood, stunned. Emily shifted in her seat, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I should go," she said quietly, rising halfway. "I'm so sorry for the confusion." But before she could step away, a small hand tugged at her wrist. Lily stood there, her brown eyes wide and glossy. "Please don't go," she whispered. "You look just like our mommy, the one in our dreams." Emily froze. Sophie and Mia stood behind Lily, their expressions hopeful, fragile. For a moment, the air between them was still, delicate, as though one wrong word might shatter the spell. Graham opened his mouth to explain, but Emily slowly bent down until she was eye level with the girls. She smiled, softly, genuinely, the first real smile she had allowed herself since her mother's funeral. "Well then," she said gently, brushing a stray curl from Lily's forehead. "Maybe, just for today, I can be your dream mommy." The girls beamed. Graham blinked, caught off guard not only by the girls' intensity, but by how natural this woman looked beside them. "You don't have to." "I want to," Emily said softly, not taking her eyes off the children. Back at Graham's home, the living room buzzed with laughter. The house was warm, filled with the soft clinking of plates and the occasional squeal of delight. Emily watched the girls closely, each of them revealing a little piece of their personality without knowing it. Mia, the quiet one, clung to the side of the couch, peeking out from behind a pillow. Her fingers curled nervously around the hem of her dress. Emily knelt beside her. "Hey, sweetheart," she said. "Looks like you've got some jam on your cheek." Mia nodded shyly. Emily reached into her purse and pulled out a tissue. She dabbed the sticky spot, then smiled and took the ketchup bottle. "Watch this." She squeezed a bit onto a slice of bread and drew a tiny face, 2 dots, and a smile. Mia's lips twitched, then she giggled. Meanwhile, Sophie was hopping around the kitchen, her pigtails bouncing, the bow on her dress completely untied. Emily gently caught her hand. "Let me fix that, princess." As she retied the ribbon, Emily softly hummed an old lullaby, one she used to sing to her younger brother before their lives had changed. Sophie stood still, eyes dreamy. At the table, Graham reached for the plates. "I can help with." Emily stopped him with a light touch on his arm. "You've done enough for today, Captain Dad. Let the kitchen commander take over." He chuckled, reluctantly sitting down as the girls gathered around. Emily served the food with care, equal portions, arranged just so, and told them a story as she did. Once upon a time, there was a magical land ruled by the brave carrot princess. She wore a gown made of mashed potatoes and had broccoli dragons for pets. The girls burst into laughter, mouths full, eyes sparkling. When Mia began to cough from a giggle gone wrong, Emily moved fast, sliding her chair next to Mia's, rubbing her back gently, voice calm and low. "Shh, slow down, little bunny. I'm right here. All is okay." The moment passed. Mia nodded, leaning against her. Graham watched it all, silent. Something in his chest ached. His daughters had known care before, but not this, not her. After dinner, as Graham cleared the table, Lily tiptoed into the living room, clutching something in her arms. She approached Emily cautiously. "This is Teddy," Lily said, holding out a well-loved stuffed bear with one ear nearly torn off. "He's sad. His ear hurts. Can you fix him?" Emily took the bear as if it were the most important patient in the world. "Of course I can." From her purse, she pulled out a small sewing kit, standard in every nurse's bag, and sat cross-legged on the floor. The girls watched as she threaded the needle, carefully stitched the ear back on, and then kissed the mended spot. "There," she said, cradling the bear. "Teddy's good as new. He'll sleep well tonight, just like his 3 princesses." The girls squealed and hugged her. A little while later, Graham walked back in with the last of the dishes. He paused in the doorway. There, on the couch, Emily sat with all 3 girls curled up beside her. Sophie lay half asleep against her shoulder. Mia clung to her side. Lily leaned across her lap, eyes fluttering shut. Emily's arms wrapped around them like she had done it 1,000 times. She looked up and saw Graham watching. Their eyes met. She whispered, almost to herself, "It has been so long since I felt alive." It had been a week since the unexpected afternoon that shifted something deep in Emily's chest. She had gone home that night replaying every smile, every touch, every giggle that had spilled out of those little girls like sunlight through shutters long closed. She told herself it was just a one-time thing. But today, standing in front of Graham's porch with a small tote bag in her hand, her heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. Inside the bag were Sophie's pink hair clip, a folded napkin with Lily's crayon drawing of Queen Emily, and a pair of tiny socks Mia had kicked off without notice. She rang the bell. Maybe he would not be home. Maybe someone else would answer. Maybe... The door swung open, and all three girls shrieked at once. "Emily!" They barreled into her like a wave, arms around her waist, giggles bubbling from their lips. "You came back," Lily cried. "We missed you every day," Sophie added. Mia didn't say anything. She simply hugged tighter. Emily's arms found their way around them instinctively. "I just came to return your treasures," she said gently, but her smile betrayed her own joy. The moment stretched longer than it should have. Their little hands didn't let go. Graham appeared in the hallway, barefoot, holding a mug of coffee. His expression softened when he saw her. "I didn't think I'd see you again," he said. "I wasn't planning to stay," Emily replied, her voice tentative. "Just dropping off their things." "Come in," he said simply. Inside, the girls took her hand and led her straight to the living room, like she belonged there, like she had never left. Emily noticed something new. On the wall above the bookshelf, framed neatly in a simple wooden border, was a crayon drawing. 5 figures holding hands. A tall man, 3 girls in pink dresses, and in the center, her. Her hair was golden, drawn in long loops, a big smile on her face. "Lily drew that," Graham said, stepping beside her. "Said she wanted it where everyone could see the day we became a real family." Emily didn't speak. Graham set his mug down and turned toward her. "I have had a lot of people come through this house," he said. "Helpers, teachers, nannies, good people, kind, capable." He paused, his voice quieter. "But none of them ever made the girls feel what you did. They look at you like the world still has magic." She turned slowly, eyes locked on his. "I do not need a babysitter," he continued. "I need someone who reminds my daughters that the world is still beautiful, that not everything leaves." Her throat tightened. "I do not know what this is," he added, "but I know what I see, and I would be a fool not to ask if you'd stay. Not for me, for them." Emily glanced at the drawing again, at the tiny hearts sketched above each head, at the little stick figure with long hair labeled Mommy Emily. She looked down at her own hands, hands that had once lost a child before ever holding it, that had held her mother's as she took her last breath. She had spent so long being empty, convinced she had nothing left to give. But these children, they saw something in her she had forgotten existed. And maybe, just maybe, she could believe it too. She looked up at Graham, the edge of a smile trembling on her lips. "I could come by," she said. "Maybe a few times a week." He nodded slowly. "We'd like that." She glanced toward the girls, who were watching from the couch with barely concealed hope. "I'm not a replacement," she said softly. "You're not," Graham agreed. "You're something entirely new." Emily exhaled, a little lighter than before. "All right then," she whispered. "I'll be your frequent visitor." And in that moment, for the first time in a very long time, she chose to stay. The Saturday morning sun poured through the windows like honey, soft and golden. Emily stepped into the Donovan home, greeted immediately by the sound of hurried footsteps and high-pitched whispers. "Shh! She's here! Hide the sign! Hide it!" Laughter erupted from the living room, followed by the sound of paper rustling and 3 pairs of socked feet scurrying across hardwood floors. Emily raised an eyebrow as she set down her purse. "What's going on in here?" Graham appeared from the hallway, mug in hand, hiding a smile. "I've been instructed not to interfere. Apparently, there's a top-secret operation underway." Before Emily could respond, the girls popped out from behind the couch, their faces lit with anticipation. "Surprise!" they shouted. In their hands was a large, glitter-covered sign made from cardboard and construction paper. It read, in crayon, "Welcome Queen Mommy," with hearts and smiley faces dotting the border. Emily blinked, stunned. Lily stepped forward, holding a crown made of yellow pipe cleaners and pink foam stars. "It's for you." Sophie added, "You're our Queen Mommy now. Only for today. Mia whispered shyly. "Unless you want to be forever." Emily knelt down, laughter and tears mixing somewhere in her chest. I am honored." The girls beamed and dragged her to the kitchen, where the royal baking party was about to begin. They wore aprons too big for them, sleeves rolled up, cheeks already dusted with flour. Emily guided their little hands through cookie dough, teaching them how to measure, scoop, and shape. She told them stories as they worked, tales of magical bakers who used frosting to cast kindness spells and sprinkles to make people smile again. Once the cookies were in the oven, she gathered the girls in a circle in the living room. "Now, I have something for you too," she said, pulling 3 small rubber balls from her bag, each one soft and colorful. "These," she explained, "are your feeling balls. When you feel sad, angry, scared, even happy, you can squeeze them tight and tell them how you feel. Then, let it go, okay?" The girls nodded solemnly. She handed them out one by one, looking into each pair of eyes as she did. It's important to talk about what's inside. Even princesses need help sometimes. From the hallway, Graham watched quietly, leaning against the wall. His gaze lingered on Emily, how naturally she moved, how gently she spoke, how deeply the girls trusted her. Something shifted in him. Later, while the cookies cooled, Emily curled up on the couch with the girls, reading their favorite book, The Little Cloud That Could. Lily sat the closest, her head resting against Emily's chest. Halfway through the story, she whispered, so softly Emily barely heard it, "Please don't leave again. Our hearts can't take losing someone else." Emily froze. The words, so innocent and so heavy, pressed against something deep inside her. She wrapped her arms around Lily, holding her just a little tighter. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart," she murmured. "Not if I can help it." In the kitchen, Graham closed his eyes for a long moment, his hand tightening around the coffee mug. He knew then this wasn't temporary, not for his daughters, and maybe not for him either. Emily looked down at the 3 girls in her arms. She smiled, though her throat ached. They didn't know it, but they had just said the one thing she needed to hear. She was no longer just visiting. She was beginning to belong. The wind outside carried the faint scent of rain. The sky was darkening, painted in heavy gray before the first drops began to fall. Emily arrived earlier than usual, her hair tied up, a soft cardigan draped over her shoulders. Graham had called to say he'd be late, an emergency meeting downtown. The house was quiet except for the distant laughter of the girls upstairs, coloring in their bedroom. She smiled to herself as she gathered a few toys from the floor, humming softly. When she couldn't find the box of colored paper the girls had asked for, she stepped into Graham's home office. The room was neat, masculine, shelves lined with books, framed awards, and photos of the girls in pink dresses. She smiled at them, until her hand brushed a stack of folders near the desk's edge. The top one slipped. Papers scattered across the floor. Among them, a photograph slid out and landed face up near her shoes. Emily bent to pick it up, then froze. It was a young woman, clearly pregnant, standing by a hospital window, smiling down at her round belly. The photo had been taken in soft light, her face glowing. And yet, that face made Emily's stomach twist. Her hands began to shake. The woman's eyes, kind, trusting, full of hope, belonged to a memory Emily had spent years trying to bury. "No," she whispered. The air in the room thinned, closing in around her. She sank into Graham's chair, clutching the photo to her chest. For a moment, the present faded, and her mind slipped backward. 5 years ago. It had been the 3rd night of a double shift at St. Luke's Hospital. She was 22, too young to understand how one choice could echo through time. The patient had been sweet, polite, exhausted. A mother-to-be of triplets, admitted for mild preeclampsia. Her blood pressure had stabilized. Her vitals were steady. "Please," the woman had pleaded, clutching Emily's wrist. "My husband's away. He's a firefighter. I just want to go home, get the nursery ready, feel normal before the babies come." Emily hesitated. The supervising physician was in surgery, The ward was overcrowded. The monitors beeped without alarm. She reviewed the chart. Everything looked fine. So, she signed the discharge form, her initials at the bottom, EC. Vitals stable. Discharged per patient request. Cautioned for return. Emily smiled as she handed over the papers. Call if you feel dizzy or see spots, okay? You'll be fine. The woman had laughed gently. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll be careful. It was the last time Emily saw her alive. The next morning, whispers filled the hospital. A maternity patient, Triplets, had suffered a seizure while driving. The car crashed. The mother died. The babies survived through emergency delivery. Emily stumbled into the staff bathroom and vomited until her throat burned. You followed procedure, the attending had told her. She made the choice. It's not your fault. But that never mattered. She left obstetrics a month later, moved to pediatrics. No more maternity wards, no more night shifts, no more decisions like that. And now, those 3 babies were the ones who ran to her in pink dresses, calling her Mommy. Emily sat frozen, the photo trembling in her hands. The girls' laughter drifted faintly from the stairs. She pressed the photo to her chest, tears spilling freely. God, no, not them. She rose on shaky legs, found a pen and paper from Graham's desk, and began to write. Graham, there's something you don't know. You deserve to. Years ago, I worked at Street Luke's. I was the nurse who signed your wife's discharge papers. I let her leave. I thought she was safe. I am so sorry. Tears splattered the ink. When the house was still again, she crept upstairs, pausing at the girls' door. They slept in a tangled heap, cheeks flushed, arms sprawled. Emily brushed a curl from Lily's forehead. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. She kissed each of them, Lily, Sophie, Mia, memorizing their warmth. Downstairs, she placed the letter beside Graham's coffee mug. Rain tapped harder on the roof, steady and insistent, like a heartbeat. Emily slipped on her coat and stepped into the storm, her heart breaking with every step she took away from the home that, for a brief moment, had almost felt like her own. The morning was still when Graham stepped into the quiet house, his coat damp from the misting rain. He kicked off his shoes, then froze at the kitchen table. Beside his half-finished mug of coffee sat a folded piece of paper with his name written in soft, shaky script. His chest tightened. He sat slowly, the chair creaking beneath him, and opened the letter. As he read, no anger rose, no betrayal, just a slow, sinking sadness. A knowing. He had feared this might come. His gaze shifted to the living room, where just last night Emily had sat with his daughters curled around her. She brushed back their hair, read bedtime stories, and made it look like she'd always belonged. But now he understood why she always held a part of herself back. He folded the letter carefully and placed it beside him. Outside, the sky was gray, the morning damp with silence, and with that stillness came a memory he'd never spoken aloud. The night his wife died, she had called him from the hospital. Her voice was tired but content. The nurse here is wonderful, she'd said. Young, blonde, so gentle. I feel safe. He had smiled. You always worry. I think I want to name one of the girls after a flower, she'd whispered. Lily, maybe. You know how I love names with meaning. I love you, he'd told her. She laughed. Kiss me through the phone, Graham Donovan. I miss you. Then the line went quiet. The crash happened hours later. By the time he reached the hospital, she was gone. But the babies had made it, 3 tiny girls, born into a storm of grief. And now, the woman who'd held his wife's hand in her final hours, the woman who had let her go, was the same one his daughters had claimed without hesitation. Graham stood, grabbed his keys, and stepped into the drizzle. A few blocks away, at the bus stop, Emily sat on a cold bench. Her backpack was at her feet, her clothes damp, her blonde hair loose and wet. She looked like someone with nowhere left to go. She didn't see him at first. He walked up and held an umbrella over them both. She looked up, startled. Her eyes filled instantly. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. He sat beside her and pulled something from his coat pocket, a small cream-colored handkerchief embroidered with the initials A.D. My wife's, he said. It's the last thing I kept. Emily took it, hands trembling. I didn't kill her, she whispered. But I didn't stop her either. I was new, tired, alone that night. She begged me to discharge her, and I let her go. Tears streamed down her face. I should have said no. I should have fought harder. If I had just... You did what you thought was right, Graham said softly. She looked away. How can I love you, or them, when I'm the reason they never met their mom? He paused. She said you were gentle, he told her, that you made her feel safe. That's the last thing she said to me. Emily's breath caught. She didn't leave because you failed her, he said. She left because she believed the world still had kindness in it. That's what you gave her. He reached for her hand, not pulling, just holding. If you believe you were wrong, then stay. Not for me, not even for her. Stay for yourself, and for 3 little girls who already call you mommy. Emily crumbled into him, her face against his chest. Her sobs were quiet, but they shook her. Grief that had lived in her bones for 5 years finally spilled free, and in his arms, she forgave herself. Later, they walked home in silence. The rain had turned to mist. As they stepped through the gate, the front door burst open. Emily, Sophie shouted. All 3 girls tumbled down the steps in pink dresses and threw themselves into her arms. I knew you'd come back, Lily said. We saved you a cookie, Mia whispered. Emily dropped to her knees, hugging them tightly. No, she said softly. Mommy's not going anywhere. Mommy's home. The morning sun filtered gently through amber-colored leaves, casting golden patterns across the quiet park path. It was a perfect autumn day, calm, clear, and still. Emily walked beside Graham, their hands brushing occasionally as the 3 little girls skipped ahead, chasing each other through falling leaves. Graham slowed as they reached a quiet corner of the park. Emily noticed the shift in his eyes, a softness, a memory. She used to come here, he said, when she was pregnant. We had a beagle then, this bench. He touched the worn wood, her favorite spot. Emily nodded, holding the bouquet a little tighter. A bundle of wild white daisies, tied with pink ribbon. The girls had once whispered to her, "That's what Mommy loved, daisy flowers." From the park, they walked to a nearby cemetery. The girls stayed behind with a family friend, sensing this moment was meant only for 2. The headstone was simple and lovely. Amelia Donovan, it read, beloved wife and mother, a light we still follow. Emily stood quietly, then stepped forward and knelt beside the grave. She laid the daisies down, brushing her fingers over the smooth stone. I'm sorry, she whispered, for not keeping you safe. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know how much it would matter, but it does. It always will. She looked up, her eyes glistening, not with guilt, but something more sacred. I'll love them like you would have. That's my promise. Behind her, Graham listened in silence. Then, gently, he stepped forward. I never told anyone, he said, but the last time we spoke, she told me. If she couldn't walk this road with me, she hoped I'd find someone kind enough to love all 4 of us. Emily turned to him, tears streaking down her cheeks. She didn't say perfect, he added. She said kind. That's what mattered. Someone who could see the whole story, not just the sadness. Emily wiped her eyes on her sleeve, but her smile stayed. I don't feel like the next person, she said softly. Not anymore. Graham didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small object, faded, handmade, fragile. A bracelet made of pink ribbon and 2 mismatched buttons. The thread was fraying. On one button, tiny initials were scribbled in marker, EC. The girls made this the day you first stayed, he said. They called it your mommy band. He slipped it onto her wrist with care. It's not worth much, he said, but it means everything. Emily stared at the bracelet, then at him. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was standing in someone else's place. She wasn't a shadow or a stand-in. She was here, seen, chosen. She reached for his hand and laced her fingers with his. "I'm not perfect," she whispered. "No," Graham replied with a smile. "You're just right." And there, beside the resting place of another woman's love, they didn't feel haunted. They felt whole. The backyard had never looked so alive. Colorful paper decorations fluttered from tree branches, handmade by 3 pairs of tiny hands. Loops of paper chains stretched from bush to bush like a crown around the garden. In one corner, fresh earth cradled a white daisy bush. The girls insisted it be planted there, so Mommy Amelia could watch too. Emily stood barefoot on the grass, her white dress swaying gently in the breeze. Her blonde hair was swept into a loose bun, a few strands curling at her cheeks. No veil. She didn't need one, because nothing about this day was hidden. Across the yard, 3 little girls danced in circles, their pink dresses glowing in the afternoon light. Lily, Sophie, and Mia had chosen their favorite shades, blush, rose, and strawberry, and called themselves the Flower Queens. Then came giggles as Graham stepped onto the patio, holding a small white box. Instead of walking to Emily, he dropped cross-legged onto the grass. The girls ran to him instantly. "Okay," he said, smiling. "We do this as a team, right?" "Team Donovan," Sophie shouted. Graham opened the box with a flourish. Inside was a cupcake, swirled with white frosting and pink sprinkles. In the center, tied with a pink ribbon, was a delicate ring. Emily laughed through tears when she saw it. Graham looked up at her from the grass, surrounded by 3 tiny cheerleaders. "I could get on one knee," he said. "But this feels more honest. This is what you're really marrying." Before he could say more, Sophie yelled, "Say yes, Mommy, we want a wedding." Emily walked toward them, hand to her heart, tears falling freely. "I already said yes," she whispered. "The day your daughters chose me to be their mom." The girls cheered. Lily hugged her waist. Mia pressed her cheek to Emily's hand. Graham stood and pulled them all into one embrace. The ceremony was short, honest, beautiful. Their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Whitaker, who had watched Graham's grief and healing, stood under the arbor to officiate. Her voice trembled as she pronounced them husband and wife. The girls tossed daisy petals down the aisle, the wind catching them like tiny messengers of joy. Emily walked slowly, her eyes locked on Graham. Her smile was soft, full. When they kissed, the girls squealed and danced around them like fairies. There was no champagne, no formal reception, just lemonade, cookies, and laughter. A backyard, a family, a love they had all fought to keep. As the sun sank low, the 5 of them curled under the old oak tree. Graham cradled Mia, her tiny fingers wrapped around his thumb. Emily held Lily and Sophie, their heads resting on her shoulder. The daisy bush swayed nearby. "Mommy," Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper, "when we grow up, will you still be here?" Emily kissed her gently. "Not just here, baby. In your hearts. Every single day. Mommy's not leaving. Not ever again." The camera pulls back, framing them as the heart of something quiet and real. The wind stirs the trees. Laughter floats into the fading sky. A few white petals lift from the daisy bush, spinning upward. Because family isn't just where you begin, it's where you choose to stay. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey of healing, love, and second chances. If this story touched your heart, even just a little, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the hype button to support the Soul Stirring Stories channel. We believe that stories like Emily and Graham's remind us all, family isn't just who you're born to, it's who chooses to stay. Stay tuned for more heartwarming tales that heal the soul and stir something deep within. From our family to yours, thank you for watching. See you in the next story.